Sydney, New South Wales is open for business.
Yep, that's right, guys.
Hotel quarantine, home quarantine is a thing of the past.
From November 1st, fully jabbed travellers can jet into Sydney from overseas. All they'll need, proof of a TGA-approved vaccine and a PCR test before they catch the flight. Oh, and a valid passport. Remember those? But importantly, no quarantine required.
This is going to be a boom for people coming back home. It's going to be a boom for our tourism industry.
It's made a lot of people pretty darn happy.
They're open?
We're already talking about booking our first trip.
Pretty excited.
Yeah, I'll be flying out.
I am Canadian and I am looking forward to going home.
Aussies separated by international border closures now rushing to book their reunions.
I heard the news and I just started crying immediately. I can finally see my family again.
There are so many details to deal with in this. It's important that we have the ability to identify certain countries that may be more at risk of having a variant that is concerning.
As the Premier proudly boasted,
People in New South Wales will be flying to Bali before Broome.
other states and territories were caught off guard.
Well, good on New South Wales. I can't speak for what their thinking is.
There's just been an enormous change this morning that I haven't been able to get my head around.
Everyone just needs to take a chill pill.
It does not make sense for one Premier to be making decisions for the entire country. I don't know who's running the country right now.
Queensland and Victoria ploughing on with their purpose-built quarantine facilities regardless. But the PM has made it clear just who controls the international borders.
It's for the Commonwealth Government to decide when the border opens and shuts at an international level, and we will do that. This is about Australian residents and citizens first.
Well, the New South Wales Deputy Liberal Leader and Tourism Minister Stuart Ayres joins us now. Good to see you, Stuart. I suppose the question we're all asking is, since when did the New South Wales State Government start controlling Australia's international borders?
Well, we don't control any international borders, but what we do control is the quarantine circumstances that exist here in our state. And today we've announced from the 1st of November, if you're a fully vaccinated person coming into New South Wales, you won't have to undertake any form of quarantine. From early November, we think we'll be at 90+% fully vaccinated in New South Wales. If you're not prepared to remove quarantine at that point, I'm not quite sure when you would do it. And when it comes to visas, when it comes to people travelling into Australia, all of the normal conditions will still apply, particularly those that are controlled by the Commonwealth Government.
Well, it does send a pretty clear message to Scott Morrison. And in fact, you made it clear this morning, Stuart, that you are hoping to welcome back tourists as part of this announcement. The PM has said no. Did you run any of this past the Prime Minister before it was announced?
Well, we're making sure that we're delineating people based on their vaccination status, not the country that they come from or the reason why they want to come to Australia. We know those things are not the responsibility of the New South Wales Government, merely telling New South Wales citizens that those people that are travelling from overseas and they're fully vaccinated won't be doing quarantine. Those that aren't vaccinated will be doing quarantine. We've been informing the Commonwealth Government of our intention to move in this direction for some time now. We've been upfront, and we also understand that all of the visa and entry requirements are the purview of the Commonwealth Government, as we would expect them to be.
OK, now we're going to try and answer the question. Did you run any of this by the Prime Minister?
Yeah, we've spoken to the Commonwealth consistently. We're working in line with the national plan.
Specifically, Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, did you run any of it by him? Because he certainly sounded blindsided.
No, the Premier and the Prime Minister have definitely spoken about this issue. They spoke today. The Prime Minister confirmed that in his own press conference. He said very clearly that the New South Wales Government does control its own quarantine arrangements. We're stepping out in line with the national plan. I have absolutely no problem if the Prime Minister indicates that they'll be welcoming home Australians before they're granting visas. It's exactly what I think Australians would expect them to do. What we're merely saying is to people overseas that if you're coming to Australia and you're coming through New South Wales, from the 1st of November, you won't have to quarantine.
Stuart, when can we book a holiday to Queensland?
Well, you'll have to ask the Queensland Premier that. New South Wales doesn't have any border closures at the moment. We obviously do work with other states, but I'd like Australians to be able to travel wherever they want to across the country. I think the border closures have had their time. It's really time for us to open up as quickly as we can. We've got to do so in a safe way. I really hope that the Victorians get out of the really challenging circumstance that they're in. I do hope that Queensland opens up their border to New South Wales residents. We're a wonderful Commonwealth, shared resources, shared nation. The sooner we get out of this situation, the better we'll all be.
So come on, are you booking Chrissy break up in Queensland or not?
No, I think as the New South Wales Tourism Minister, I'm probably staying in New South Wales. I might get some time overseas if I get a chance, but I think I'll be trying to enjoy a nice red out in the Central West or something like that.
All right, Stuart Ayres, very well done as Tourism Minister. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
With so much content online, it's sometimes hard to keep up with it all. And let's face it, who has the time? The Project YouTube has you covered with the stories that matter. Hit subscribe for a daily list of the news that you need to know.